The gel was cold on Marisol Vega's skin, like a warning she couldn't wipe away. The ultrasound wand pressed down, and the screen lit up with swirling gray shadows. A tiny heartbeat flickered like a trapped firefly. The room smelled like sanitizer and something metallic like coins in a wet hand. Evan Cross stood behind her shoulder, tall and calm, one hand on the back of her chair like he owned it. He smiled at the monitor the way men smile at trophies. Quiet, certain. Already planning the speech he'd give at the baby shower. Dr. Leandro Sosa didn't smile back. His eyes locked on the image. Not the heartbeat. Not the little shape that made most parents cry. His gaze sharpened on something else. His mouth went dry. His fingers stopped moving. The machine kept humming. Marisol turned her head, trying to read his face. Is the baby okay? The doctor didn't answer. He swallowed once. Hard. Then he leaned closer to the screen, as if staring could change what he was seeing. His hand trembled so slightly that only Marisol noticed, because she was the one lying there, half exposed, half helpless, and suddenly she felt like prey. Evan chuckled softly. "Doc, you look like you've seen a ghost." Dr. Sosa finally spoke, but his voice wasn't the warm voice doctors use when they're about to say, "Congratulations." It was low, urgent. "Mrs. Vega," he said, not looking at Evan at all, "I need you to come back alone after this appointment. Today. And I need you to listen to me carefully." Evan's smile thinned. "Alone? Why?" The doctor's eyes flicked toward Evan for the first time, and the air changed, tightened, like a rope being pulled. "Because," Dr. Sosa said, "you need to get a divorce." Marisol's breath caught so hard it hurt. The room tilted. Her brain tried to catch up, tried to make sense of the words, but they didn't belong together. Ultrasound. Baby. Divorce. "What?" she whispered. Evan laughed once, sharp and fake. "That's a joke." Dr. Sosa didn't laugh. He stared at Marisol with something that looked like fear, and the worst part was this. He looked like he was afraid for her, not for the baby. Marisol's fingers curled into the paper sheet. "Doctor, what did you see?" Dr. Sosa's voice dropped even lower. "Something your husband doesn't want you to know. Something that has gotten other women hurt." Evan's hand tightened on the chair. "Watch your mouth." Dr. Sosa didn't blink. "I'm watching the screen." And then behind Marisol, Evan's phone buzzed. Once. He glanced at it and his face did something strange, like a crack in glass, there for half a second before the smooth surface returned. Marisol saw it. And in that tiny crack she saw the truth. Evan wasn't surprised the doctor was scared. He was surprised the doctor was brave. Dr. Sosa wiped the gel from Marisol's belly with a paper towel, but his eyes stayed locked on hers. "I'm going to print the images," he said. "Smile for your husband. Normal. Then come back. Alone." Marisol nodded without meaning to. She couldn't feel her hands. Evan leaned down close to her ear. His voice sweet like syrup poured over a knife. "You okay, soul?" She forced a smile so tight it could have snapped her teeth. Because she didn't know it yet. But the man standing behind her wasn't just holding her chair. He was holding her life in his fist. And he was squeezing. Marisol thought the worst thing that could happen in that room was hearing the words, "There's no heartbeat." She had no idea the real nightmare was that there was one. Because that heartbeat on the screen wasn't just proof of life. It was proof of a crime. And Dr. Leandro Sosa, good man, steady hands, kind eyes, had just risked everything to push her toward one choice. Run. Divorce him. Marisol didn't understand why a doctor would beg a pregnant woman to leave her husband. Not unless the truth was bigger than betrayal. Not unless the truth was deadly. And what Marisol didn't see yet, what she couldn't possibly expect, was this. Evan Cross had been building a cage around her since the day they met. The baby wasn't the beginning of their happily ever after. The baby was the lock. And somewhere in Evan's past, buried under money and charm and polished lies, there was a woman who never got the chance to run, because she trusted him. Marisol would soon find her name. And when she did, she would realize the ultrasound wasn't a picture of her future. It was a warning from the past. A past Evan Cross had killed to keep quiet. Marisol's story began long before the cold gel, long before the heartbeat. It began with a rainy Thursday and a dead phone. She'd been standing outside a coffee shop in Austin, hugging her blazer tight, trying to look like she belonged in a city that still felt too fast for her. Her phone had died right as she realized she'd taken the wrong bus, and she was supposed to be at a job interview in 15 minutes. She was 27, smart, working hard, still paying off a degree that promised doors but delivered bills. She stepped into the coffee shop to ask for a charger, cheeks warm with embarrassment, when a voice behind her said, "Take mine." He turned. Evan Cross. He looked like the kind of man magazines were made for. Clean suit, easy smile, eyes that made you feel seen. He held out a portable charger like it was nothing. Like saving her was casual. "Thank you," she said. I'm sorry, I'll give it right back." "Keep it," he said. "You look like you're heading into battle." She laughed nervously. "I'm heading into a job interview." He glanced at her resume folder, damp at the edges. Then definitely battle. He was charming in a way that felt safe. Not loud, not showy, just steady. The kind of man who made you stand up straighter without even trying. When she offered to pay him back, he waved it away. "Let me do one thing," he said. "Let me buy you a coffee. On one condition." She blinked. "What condition?" He smiled. "If you get the job, you text me and tell me. So I know my good deed paid off." She should have said no. She didn't even know him. But she said yes. Because she didn't see the hook. She only saw the bait. Marisol got the job. She texted him. He replied in seconds. "Proud of you, soul." Oh, nobody called her that. Not even her own family, unless they were trying to soften bad news. Felt intimate, warm. The first few months with Evan were like stepping into a life that didn't belong to her but fit anyway. He took her to restaurants where the menus didn't have prices. He listened when she spoke. He asked about her mother in San Antonio, about her little brother Mateo, about the way Marisol used to press her ear to her grandma's radio just to hear the dramatic stories late at night. "I like the way you talk," Evan told her once, holding her hand in a dim bar. "Like you're always holding something back." Marisol laughed. "Like what?" "Like you're stronger than you let people see." She blushed at that. She wanted to believe it. Evan's attention felt like sunlight. And Marisol had been cold for a long time. When he asked her to move in after 8 months, her friends raised eyebrows. Her best friend Tessa King, a sharp-eyed woman who worked in fraud investigations, said, "It's fast." Evan heard that and smiled politely. "When you know, you know." Tessa stared at him a second too long. "Some people know because they're good at selling." Then softened again like it never happened. Marisol told herself Tessa was just protective. Tessa had seen too much of the ugly side of people. Marisol wanted to believe there was still good. And Evan was good. Wasn't he? The first time Marisol saw the other side of Evan was small. So small she almost missed it. They were at a dinner party with his friends. Rich friends who laughed loudly and talked about vacations like they were grocery runs. A woman named Nadine Lark made a joke about Evan being too controlling. Everyone laughed. Evan laughed too. Then he leaned down and whispered in Marisol's ear, still smiling, "Do not let that woman near our home." Marisol blinked. "What? Why?" "She's messy," he said softly. "She likes to stir things." He said it like advice, like protection. Marisol nodded. Later that night she asked who Nadine was. Evan's fingers slid through her hair. "No one. Just someone who got confused about her place in my life." "Was she an ex?" Evan's hand paused. "Briefly." "Why did you say not to let her near our home?" Evan kissed her forehead. "Because I love you." Sounded sweet. Felt like a blanket. But blankets can smother too. When Evan proposed, it was perfect. Rose petals, a rooftop view, a violinist playing something soft and sad. Marisol cried and said yes. Evan slipped the ring on and whispered, "Now you're safe." It should have felt comforting. Instead, some part of her wondered why a man like Evan thought marriage was armor. The wedding was expensive and beautiful and filled with people Marisol didn't know. Evan's mother, Celeste Cross, kissed Marisol's cheek and said, "Finally, an obedient one." Marisol laughed awkwardly, thinking it was a joke. Celeste didn't laugh. After the honeymoon, Evan started talking about babies. "I want a son," he said casually one morning, buttering toast like it was business. "Someone to carry the name." Marisol smiled. "A daughter could carry your name too." Evan's jaw tightened. "A son." Marisol felt the first quiet pressure settle on her shoulders. She wanted kids. Someday. But she wanted time first. Evan didn't like time. Time meant things could change. So he pushed. Not with shouting. With plans. He'd schedule doctor appointments for her. He'd leave brochures on the table. He'd mention prime years and family legacy. When Marisol said she wanted to wait, Evan's eyes would go cold for a moment. Then he'd soften and say, "Of course. Whatever you want, soul." But his hand would squeeze her wrist just a little too tight. A year into the marriage, Marisol got pregnant. It happened after a weekend trip to a cabin, after Evan had been unusually gentle, almost desperate. She found out on a Monday morning, staring at 2 pink lines like they were written in a language she didn't trust. When she told Evan, he stared at the test for a long time. Then he smiled. But it wasn't joy. It was relief. Like a man seeing a door unlock. He lifted her off the ground and spun her around. "We did it," he said. Marisol laughed, dizzy. "We did." Evan kissed her hard. "My family is going to be so proud." Marisol's smile faltered. "Evan, are you happy? Like for us?" He looked at her like she'd asked something strange. Then he softened his face. "Of course I am," he said. "You're giving me everything." 2 weeks later she miscarried. It was quick, brutal, like being punched from the inside. Marisol sat on the bathroom floor, shaking, blood everywhere, whispering, "No, no, no," like bargaining could reverse biology. Evan stood in the doorway, silent. When she finally looked up at him, expecting grief, expecting pain, he looked angry. Not at the universe. Her. "What did you do?" he asked quietly. Marisol stared at him, stunned. "What?" Evan's voice stayed calm, but his eyes were sharp. "Did you take something? Drink something? Ignore the vitamins I gave you?" Marisol's throat tightened. I did everything." Evan stepped closer, towering over her. "Then why did this happen?" Marisol began to cry harder, shame flooding her like poison. Evan exhaled through his nose and crouched beside her. "I'm sorry," he said, suddenly gentle. "I didn't mean it like that. I can't lose this again." Again. The word slipped out. Marisol froze. "Again." Evan's face smoothed. I can't lose you again. Emotionally." He kissed her temple. And Marisol, bleeding and broken, let him. Because she didn't have energy to fight. Months passed. Evan became sweeter. Attentive. The kind of husband who brought her tea and held her at night when she woke from nightmares. He also became watchful. He insisted on controlling her diet. He bought her premium supplements from his company. Orem Wellness. Beautiful bottles with gold labels, little capsules that looked like pearl beads. "These are better than anything in stores," Evan said. "Trust me." Marisol didn't love it, but she wanted a baby too. She wanted to believe she could fix what had happened. So she swallowed the pills. Every morning. Every night. Then one quiet Sunday she saw the second set of pink lines. Her hands shook. She didn't tell Evan right away. Not because she didn't want to. 'Cause she was afraid. Afraid of his relief. Afraid of his hunger. Afraid of what he'd do if the universe took it away again. She waited until dinner. Evan poured wine for himself, sparkling water for her. Marisol slid the test across the table. Evan stared. The silence stretched like a wire. Then Evan's face broke into a grin so wide it looked painful. He stood, walked around the table, and knelt beside her chair like a man in church. "Thank you," he whispered, pressing his forehead to her belly. "Thank you." Marisol's eyes filled with tears. "Evan." He looked up at her, eyes shining. "This time we do everything right." And that's when the cage started closing. He installed new cameras for safety. He insisted on driving her to work and picking her up. He told her to stop seeing Tessa because stress is bad for the baby. When Marisol argued, he didn't yell. He smiled sadly and said, "Do you want to lose another one?" So she stopped seeing Tessa. She stopped going out. She stopped living the way she used to. And the strange part was, Evan treated it like love. He would rub her feet and say, "You're my whole world now." He would kiss her belly and say, "I'll protect you both." But protection can look a lot like prison when you're the one behind bars. At 12 weeks, Evan booked the ultrasound appointment himself. "With the best clinic," he said. "They have the newest machines." Marisol asked which doctor. Evan said, "A friend of mine." Marisol's stomach tightened. "I'd rather see someone I choose." Evan's smile flickered. "Why?" Marisol shrugged, trying to keep it light. I want a doctor who's neutral." Evan laughed like it was cute. "Soul, doctors are doctors." Marisol held his gaze. "I want Dr. Leandro Sosa. Tessa told me he's good." Evan's jaw tightened again, that brief flash of irritation. "Tessa?" Marisol straightened. "Yes." Evan stared at her for a moment too long. Then he smiled. "Okay," he said softly. "Anything you want." But that night, he held her in bed and whispered, "Don't let anyone poison you against me." Marisol stared at the ceiling, feeling the baby flutter like a secret. And then came the ultrasound. Cold gel. The humming machine. The heartbeat. And Dr. Sosa's fear. After the appointment, Evan was all smiles in the lobby. He held the printed pictures up like trophies. "Look at that," he said loudly. "That's my kid." People smiled. A receptionist said, "Congratulations." Marisol smiled too because Dr. Sosa had told her to. "Normal." Evan kissed her cheek. "I'm going to take these to my mom. She's dying to see." Marisol's heart pounded. "Now." Evan's eyes narrowed slightly. "Why?" Marisol forced a laugh. "No reason. I thought we'd go home." Evan squeezed her waist. "I'll be quick. You go sit in the car." Marisol nodded, walked out, and the moment Evan turned away, she didn't go to the car. She went back inside. Her legs felt like jelly. Her mouth tasted like pennies. She walked to the front desk. "Hi," she said, voice shaking. "Dr. Sosa asked me to come back." The receptionist looked confused. "Do you have an appointment?" Marisol swallowed. "He said today." The receptionist hesitated, then picked up the phone. Marisol's hands clenched and unclenched. A door opened down the hall. Dr. Sosa appeared, his face still pale. His eyes met hers, and he didn't pretend anymore. "Come," he said softly. He led her into a small office, closed the door and locked it. That sound made Marisol's fear spike. Dr. Sosa sat across from her, elbows on his desk, hands clasped like he was praying. Marisol's voice came out in a whisper. "Doctor, why did you say divorce?" Dr. Sosa took a slow breath. "Because your husband is dangerous." Marisol shook her head quickly. "No, Evan is. He's protective. He's intense, but..." Dr. Sosa cut in gently. "Marisol, I need you to hear me. What I saw on your ultrasound was not just a healthy pregnancy." Marisol's nails dug into her palm. "What did you see?" Dr. Sosa opened a folder and slid something across the desk. "A lab report." Marisol blinked. "What is this?" "It's from another patient," he said. "From 2 years ago. A woman named Camila Hart." Marisol's throat tightened. Why are you showing me this? Dr. Sosa's eyes filled with something heavy. Because Camilla Hart's husband was Evan Cross. Marisol's stomach dropped. That's not possible. Evan said he's never been married. Dr. Sosa's voice stayed steady, but his hands trembled. He was. Briefly. The marriage was sealed, records buried. Money does that. Power does that. Marisol's ears rang. No. No, you're wrong. Dr. Sosa pushed the report closer. Camilla came to me at 14 weeks. Healthy at first. Then she started showing signs of heavy metal exposure. Marisol frowned. Heavy metal like what? Lead. Mercury, he said quietly. The kind that can cause placenta damage. Growth problems. Miscarriage. Stillbirth. Marisol's breath hitched. How would she? Dr. Sosa leaned forward. She was taking supplements. Premium prenatals her husband insisted on. Marisol's mouth went dry. Dr. Sosa continued, voice low like a confession. Her ultrasound looked like yours. Marisol stared. What does that mean? Dr. Sosa pulled up an image on his computer. A gray ultrasound picture. The placenta looked speckled. Strange. Then he pulled up Marisol's scan beside it. Even with her untrained eyes she saw it. Similar pattern. A texture that didn't look like smooth life. It looked like something breaking down. Dr. Sosa swallowed. Your placenta is showing early calcification. Too early. And there are markers that make me suspect toxic exposure. Marisol's hands flew to her belly. No. I feel fine. You might, he said softly. That's the horror. You can feel fine while your body is being poisoned slowly. Marisol shook her head, tears filling her eyes. Why would Evan? Dr. Sosa's voice cracked slightly. Camilla died. Marisol froze. Complications, Dr. Sosa said. That's what they wrote. A tragic pregnancy loss. Infection. Hemorrhage. Evan walked away rich. Her family got paid to stay quiet. Marisol's entire body went cold. You're lying. I wish I was, Dr. Sosa whispered. When I saw your scan today, I recognized the pattern. And then I saw your husband's name on your intake form. Marisol tried to speak, but nothing came. Dr. Sosa slid one more paper forward. Photo. Camilla Hart, smiling, pregnant, standing beside Evan Cross. Evan's arm around her waist. His smile the same. His eyes the same. Marisol's throat tightened until she could barely breathe. Dr. Sosa's voice was urgent now. Marisol, I am begging you. Leave him. Don't confront him. Don't warn him. If he suspects you will become like her. Marisol's mind raced, grabbing at memories like drowning hands. Evan insisting on his supplements. Evan cutting off Tessa. Evan's anger after her miscarriage. Evan's words. I can't lose this again. Again. Marisol's voice was tiny. Why would he do that? Why would he poison his own child? Dr. Sosa's eyes hardened. Because I don't think he sees the baby as a child. I think he sees the baby as property. Marisol shook, tears spilling. But he wants a son. He wants a legacy. Dr. Sosa nodded slowly. Exactly. And when Camilla was pregnant, she told me something before she died. Marisol wiped her face with shaking hands. What? Dr. Sosa's voice dropped to a whisper. She told me Evan didn't want her. He wanted what was inside her. He said he could replace the mother, but he could never replace the bloodline. Marisol felt like she might throw up. Dr. Sosa leaned closer. Marisol, listen. Can run tests, blood work. We can check for metals. But you have to get away from him. Today. Marisol whispered. He's waiting outside. Dr. Sosa stood. Then we move smart. He grabbed a prescription pad and wrote quickly. I'm giving you a vitamin prescription. You will tell Evan I insisted you switch to pharmacy-grade pills. You will stop taking anything he gives you. Marisol nodded, sobbing quietly. Dr. Sosa handed her the paper and looked her in the eyes. Do you have somewhere safe? Marisol thought of her home, Evan's home, with cameras and locked doors and Evan's mother with her sharp smile. Then she thought of one person she hadn't been allowed to see. Tessa, she whispered. Dr. Sosa nodded. Call her. Now. Marisol pulled out her phone with shaking hands and dialed. Tessa answered on the first ring, like she'd been waiting for this. Soul. Tessa's voice was cautious. Are you okay? Marisol's voice broke. No, Tessa. Need you. Please. Was. Then Tessa's tone changed, sharp, focused. Where are you? In a clinic, Marisol whispered. Tessa, he. Don't say it, Tessa cut in. Just listen. I'm coming. Stay inside. Do not go to your car. Do not go outside alone. Do you understand? Marisol nodded, even though Tessa couldn't see. Yes. Dr. Sosa watched her with the intensity of a man holding a fragile thing over a cliff. When Marisol ended the call, she looked up and whispered, What do I do if he asks questions? Dr. Sosa's jaw tightened. You lie. Marisol flinched. I don't lie. Dr. Sosa's eyes softened. Then you learn. Because telling the truth to the wrong person is not honesty. It's surrender. Marisol walked out of the office 20 minutes later with a smile pasted on her face and fear burning under her ribs. Evan was waiting in the lobby, tapping his phone. He looked up and for a cage. As they walked toward the exit, Marisol saw Tessa's car pull into the parking lot like a lifeboat. Tessa stepped out, eyes scanning, posture ready. Evan saw her too. His face changed. Not anger. Calculation. Like a chess player seeing a move he didn't expect. Tessa, Evan said smoothly, stepping forward. What a surprise. Tessa didn't smile. I'm taking Marisol for lunch. Evan's arm slid around Marisol's waist. His fingers dug in, not enough to bruise, enough to remind. She's tired, Evan said. We're going home. Tessa stepped closer, voice calm but firm. She looks like she's about to pass out. Evan's eyes narrowed slightly. We have family plans. Marisol's voice came out before she could stop it. Evan. I want to go with Tessa. Silence. The lobby felt too bright. Too public. Too dangerous. Evan stared at her. Marisol held her breath. Then Evan smiled. Of course he did. He leaned in and whispered so only she could hear. Don't embarrass me. Then he stepped back and raised his hands like a generous king. Fine, he said cheerfully. Lunch. But I'll pick you up in 2 hours. Tessa's eyes locked on Marisol. 2 hours, they both heard. Countdown. Marisol nodded quickly. Okay. Evan kissed her forehead, gentle, loving, the perfect husband. Then he walked out. And the moment he was gone, Tessa grabbed Marisol's hand. Now, Tessa said. We disappear. They didn't go to lunch. They went to Tessa's apartment across town, a small place with no cameras, no gold labels, no Evan. Marisol sat on Tessa's couch shaking while Tessa paced like a storm. Tell me everything, Tessa said. Marisol told her about the ultrasound. About Dr. Sosa. About Camilla Hart. Tessa's face went dark. I knew something was off, she muttered. I ran a background check on Evan when you got engaged. He was too clean. No messy history. No exes. Nothing. That's not normal for a man his age. Marisol whispered. He's going to come. Tessa nodded. Yes. And we'll be ready. Tessa pulled out her laptop and started typing fast. If Camilla Hart existed, there are traces. Court filings. Property records. Anything. Marisol hugged a pillow like it could keep her from breaking. Then her phone buzzed. Evan. Marisol stared at the screen. Tessa held out her hand. Give it. Marisol did. Tessa answered, voice bright and fake. Hi, Evan. Evan's voice was smooth. Put Marisol on. Tessa smiled, but her eyes were ice. She's in the restroom. Was. Then Evan's tone shifted slightly. Still calm. But sharper. Tessa. I don't like games. Tessa's smile didn't move. It's not a game. She's pregnant. She's allowed to pee. Another pause. Then Evan said quietly, "Where are you?" Tessa's eyes flicked to Marisol. "Out," Tessa said. "Relax." Evan's voice lowered. "You always were a problem." Tessa leaned on the counter, unfazed. "And you always were allergic to witnesses." Silence. Then Evan exhaled softly, like a man disappointed. "Tell Marisol," he said, "that if she stays away from me, she's making a choice she can't undo." Tessa's voice turned cold. "Is that a threat?" Evan laughed lightly. "It's a promise." The line went dead. Marisol felt her blood turn to ice. Tessa immediately turned off Marisol's phone and pulled the SIM card out. "He can track you," Tessa said. "We're not playing fair with a man like that." Marisol's voice trembled. "What do we do?" Tessa's eyes met hers. "We prove it." That night, Dr. Sosa ordered blood tests through a private lab. Tessa drove Marisol herself, using side streets, checking mirrors. Marisol felt like she was in a movie. Except it was her life. The lab tech drew blood, took urine, asked routine questions. Marisol answered like a robot. 2 days later the results came back. Tessa opened the email first. Her face went still. Marisol whispered, "What?" Tessa turned the screen toward her. Lead, elevated. Mercury, elevated. Not enough to kill her overnight. Enough to harm the baby. Enough to destroy the placenta over time. Enough to make a miscarriage look like bad luck. Marisol stared until the letters blurred. "I've been poisoned," she whispered. Tessa nodded. "Yes." Marisol's body started to shake. "By Evan." Tessa's voice was steady. "Most likely." Marisol covered her mouth to keep from sobbing too loud. She felt violated, like her own body had been turned into a battlefield. She remembered swallowing those gold label pills. She remembered Evan watching her do it. Smiling. Marisol's voice broke. "Why doesn't he just leave me?" Tessa's eyes were hard. "Because leaving doesn't give him control." Marisol whispered. "What does he want?" Tessa leaned in. "He wants the baby. And he wants you quiet." Marisol's stomach twisted. "He can't take my baby." Tessa's expression softened for the first time. "He will try." Marisol thought of Evan's mother, Celeste, calling her obedient. Marisol thought of cameras and locked doors. Marisol whispered, "I'm trapped." Tessa shook her head. "No, not anymore." Over the next week, Tessa became Marisol's shield. They filed an emergency protective order using the lab results as evidence. Dr. Sosa wrote a statement, risking his career. Tessa contacted a lawyer she trusted, Rafaela Quinn, who spoke like a blade wrapped in silk. Rafaela met Marisol in a quiet office and said, "Your husband will play charming. He will play heartbroken. He will paint you as unstable. We need evidence that doesn't depend on your feelings." Marisol nodded. Rafaela's eyes narrowed. "Do you have any of the supplements?" Marisol blinked. "At home. In the cabinet." Rafaela said, "We need them." Marisol felt fear crawl up her spine. "If I go back," Tessa cut in. "We won't go back alone." That night, they went to Evan's house with a police escort. Marisol's hands trembled as she stepped inside. Everything looked normal. Warm lights, clean counters, her favorite blanket on the couch. Home staged like love. But she could feel the cameras now. The eyes in the corners. She walked to the kitchen, opened the cabinet, and pulled out the gold label bottles. Aurum Wellness. Premium prenatal blend. She held them like they were snakes. The police officer bagged them as evidence. As they left, Marisol glanced at the hallway mirror. And for a second she thought she saw Evan standing behind her. But it was only her reflection. Her scared eyes. Her belly. Her baby. Back at Tessa's, Rafaela sent the bottles to an independent lab. 2 days later the lab report came back. Contaminated. Heavy metals. Not trace amounts. Not accidental. Levels that screamed one thing. Someone wanted the pregnancy to fail. Marisol sat on the couch staring at the report, nausea rising. Tessa spoke quietly. "This is a pattern, Sol." Marisol whispered. "Camila." Tessa nodded. Rafaela said, "And if we find more women, we bury him." Marisol's phone had been off for days, but Evan still found ways to reach her. Emails. Letters left at Tessa's building. A bouquet of white lilies on the doorstep. Beautiful, expensive, and wrong. A note tucked inside, "Come home. We can fix this." Then another note 2 days later. "If you don't come home, I'll make sure you regret it." Marisol's hands shook as she read it. Rafaela's eyes were sharp. "Good. He's escalating. That helps us," Marisol whispered. Marisol was leaving Dr. Sosa's clinic after another scan, this time with the police aware, security watching the entrance. The baby was still alive. Still fighting. Dr. Sosa looked relieved but tense. "Your levels are dropping," he told her softly. "You stopped the source. That's good. But stress can still hurt you. You need to stay hidden." Marisol nodded. She stepped outside. And there he was, Evan, standing by a black SUV like he belonged there, like laws were suggestions meant for other people. His smile was soft. "Sol." Marisol froze. Security moved forward, but Evan raised a hand. "Relax. I'm not here to cause a scene." Marisol's voice shook. "You can't be here." Evan's eyes flicked to her belly. "That's my child." Marisol's throat tightened. "No." Evan stepped closer, hands open like a man begging. "You're being lied to. By that doctor. By Tessa. They hate me." Marisol felt rage flash hot. "You poisoned me." Evan's smile didn't move, but his eyes sharpened. "Poisoned you. Sol, listen to yourself." Marisol backed up. "Stay away." Evan's voice softened, almost tender. "Come home. I'll forgive you." Marisol stared at him. "Forgive me." Evan leaned in, voice low. "You embarrassed me. You ran like a child. But we can move past it. Come home and I'll make this easy." Marisol's hands clenched. "I'm filing for divorce." For the first time, Evan's mask slipped. Just for a second. His eyes went flat. Then he smiled again. "No, you're not." Marisol's heart hammered. "Yes, I am." Evan stepped closer until Marisol could smell his cologne, expensive and suffocating. He whispered, "If you divorce me, you'll lose everything." Marisol whispered back, "I'll still have my baby." Evan's smile turned sharp. "Will you?" A chill ran through her body. Security finally stepped between them. "Sir, you need to leave." Evan held up his hands. "Fine." Then he looked at Marisol one last time, eyes cold. "You can't keep what belongs to me," he said softly. "Not in my world." He walked away, calm as ever. But Marisol saw his hand. It was shaking. Not fear. Anger. The kind that breaks things. That night Rafaela said, "We're done playing defense." Tessa nodded. "We take him down." Marisol whispered, "How?" Tessa looked at her. "We make him talk." The plan was ugly, and it terrified Marisol. But fear was already living in her bones. So she agreed. They created a fake email account and sent Evan a message from a private investigator offering sensitive information about Marisol. Her location, her legal moves, her medical details, for a price. It was bait. If Evan was the man they suspected, he wouldn't report it. He'd try to buy it. And if he tried to buy it, they could record it. Evan replied within an hour. "How much?" Tessa smiled without humor. "Got you." They set the meet in a quiet parking garage downtown, late evening. Rafaela arranged for undercover officers to be nearby. Marisol sat in Tessa's car, hidden in the back, belly heavy, heart racing. Tessa, wearing a baseball cap low, stepped out with a folder and a recording device. Evan arrived alone. No bodyguards, just confidence. He walked toward Tessa like he was walking into a business deal. Because to him, everything was a business deal. Tessa spoke first. Cash. Evan smirked. Of course. He opened a briefcase. Stacks of money. Then he said, "Where is she?" Tessa shook the folder. "You want the details, you pay." Evan's eyes narrowed. "You don't get to bargain with me." Tessa held her ground. "You don't get to threaten pregnant women." Evan's face flickered. "So you know." Tessa's voice was calm. "About Camila." "We know." For the first time, Evan's smile vanished completely. He stared at Tessa like she was something stuck to his shoe. Then he laughed quietly. "Camila was weak." Tessa's stomach turned, but she kept her face steady. "She died." Evan shrugged. "People die." Tessa's voice sharpened. "Because of you." Evan stepped closer, voice low and cold. "Careful." Tessa lifted the folder. "How many, Evan?" Evan's eyes flicked to the folder. "Give me the location." Tessa didn't move. "How many women?" Evan's jaw tightened. Then he exhaled, annoyed. "Two," he said. "Camila and the one before her. And if Marisol keeps acting stupid, she'll be third." Marisol covered her mouth in the back seat, tears streaming silently. Evan's voice was flat. "I don't want to hurt her. I just want what she's carrying. She can leave. Quietly. Or she can fight and accidents happen." Tessa's hands trembled with rage, but she forced her voice steady. "Why? Why do it at all?" Evan's eyes went distant, almost proud. "My father built nothing," he said. "He was a nobody. I built everything. I will not let my legacy end because I chose the wrong woman to breed it." "Breed it." Marisol's stomach clenched like she'd been slapped. Evan continued, tone disgusted. "Women think love is the prize. Love is cheap. Blood is priceless." Tessa's voice cracked with hatred. "You're insane." Evan smiled again, slow and cruel. "No. I'm realistic." Tessa asked. "And Celeste? Your mother, she knows." Evan's smile widened. "She taught me." In the shadows behind Evan, a car door opened. Voice called out, "Evan, cross." Evan turned. Undercover officers stepped forward. Badges. Lights. Reality. For the first time, Evan looked truly surprised. Not scared. Offended. Like the world had broken its agreement to obey him. Tessa stepped back as officers moved in. Evan's eyes scanned, calculating escape. Then he saw the car. He saw Marisol's face in the back seat, tears on her cheeks, eyes burning. Evan's expression turned cold. "You did this," he mouthed. Marisol pressed a hand to her belly and mouthed back. "No. You did." Evan was arrested that night. But arrest isn't karma. It's just the first crack. The real karma came when the truth went public. Rafaela filed the divorce. The protective order. Evidence. The lab reports. The recorded confession. Dr. Sosa testified, voice steady, eyes tired. Other women came forward. One with a miscarriage and a quiet payoff. One with unexplained illness. One who said Evan had told her, smiling, "You can be replaced." Celeste Cross was questioned too. She tried to act shocked. Then they found emails. Cold, instructive emails. From mother to son. How to hide money. How to bury records. How to make a death look natural. Celeste was arrested as well. Marisol watched the news from Tessa's couch. Hands shaking as Anchor said Evan Cross's name like it was poison. Orem Wellness stock collapsed overnight. Employees cried outside the building. People who had worshipped Evan suddenly pretended they'd always hated him. That's how the world works. Marisol didn't care. She only cared about one thing. Surviving long enough to meet her baby. The final ultrasound came near the end of her pregnancy. Dr. Sosa smiled for real this time, eyes damp. "Strong heartbeat," he said softly. "Growing well. You did it." Marisol exhaled a breath she felt like she'd been holding for months. Tessa squeezed her hand. Marisol whispered, "Camila didn't get this chance." Dr. Sosa nodded, pain crossing his face. No, the hospital room smelled like clean sheets and adrenaline. Marisol screamed. She cried. She fought. And when the baby finally arrived, the sound that filled the room wasn't humming machines or threats. It was a cry. A real one. Life. Dr. Sosa held the baby up and smiled. It's a girl. Marisol laughed through tears. A girl. Tessa grinned. Good. Evan wanted a son. Marisol held her daughter to her chest, feeling warmth and weight and truth. What do I name her? Marisol whispered. Tessa said gently. Something that means strength. Marisol looked down at her daughter's tiny face, her fierce little fists. Valeria, Marisol whispered. Valeria Vega. Strong. Brave. A name Evan would never get to claim. Weeks later, Marisol walked into court with her daughter in her arms. Evan stood in shackles, suit replaced by orange, charm replaced by fury. He stared at Marisol like she'd stolen something, like she'd committed the crime. Marisol met his gaze and didn't flinch. Evan's lawyer tried to speak about misunderstandings, about contamination, about emotional women and media hysteria. Then Rafaela played the recording. Evan's voice filled the courtroom. Women can be replaced. Blood is priceless. The judge's face didn't move. Evan's jaw clenched. Marisol watched as the world finally saw what she had lived with. The verdict didn't come that day. But justice started moving like a slow train you couldn't stop. Evan Cross lost his company, lost his reputation, lost his freedom. And in the end, the thing he worshipped most, his legacy, became a headline attached to shame. A name people spit instead of praised. Karma didn't just hit him. Karma erased him. Months later, Marisol sat on a small balcony at Tessa's place, Valeria sleeping in her arms. The city lights blinked like distant stars. Marisol whispered to her baby, "You were never his lock." Valeria's tiny fingers curled around Marisol's thumb. "You were my key," Marisol said softly. And in that quiet moment, Marisol understood the lesson that had cost her so much to learn. Love isn't control. Love isn't a cage. Love doesn't poison you slowly and call it protection. Real love makes space for you to breathe. Real love wants you alive. If someone's kindness feels like a leash, it's not kindness. If someone's love comes with fear, it's not love. And if your gut whispers that something is wrong, listen. Because your instincts are sometimes the first voice of God, the first alarm your soul pulls before your life catches fire. Evan thought money could bury truth. He thought charm could silence fear. He thought power could rewrite reality. But truth is patient. Truth doesn't need to rush. It waits until you have nowhere left to run. And then it steps into the light. And karma doesn't always come fast. But when it comes with receipts. So if you're watching this and you've ever felt trapped by someone who calls it love, remember Marisol. Remember Camila. And remember this. The bravest thing you can do isn't staying. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is leaving, before the door locks behind you. If you believe in karma, if you believe the truth always finds a way, hit subscribe. Because stories like this aren't just drama. They're warnings. And sometimes a warning is what saves a life.